I love the fact that there's some religious conviction left in America.
Yeah.
But I'm concerned about the fact that one of the primary goals of religion shouldn't only be the salvation of souls. It should be the sanctimoniousness, if that's a word, or the sanctimony of the society it Christianity should be responsible for preserving the culture of the USA. And in certain areas, it seems to be successful, but in many areas, it is failing. Whereas Islam, I feel like, is better at preserving the culture of the nations it subsides over. So if you measure the success of a religion, it's hard to say Islam's not a successful religion. Islamic nations are Islamic, and they feel Islamic. And it's hard to go against the Islamic norms and the Islamic thoughts in Islamic nations. Whereas in Christian nations now, I just feel like they're so publicly attacked. And that truly breaks my heart. My brother's a Christian. Him and I have very long debates about Islam versus Christianity. And we don't do it publicly because I don't want to start a fire because I see Christians as my brothers. We're in the same team.
Yeah.
But it really breaks my heart. It's upsetting. When I see these gay preachers and the Pope talking about same-sex marriage and how important transgenderism, that breaks my heart. And I'm not even Christian. I just think it's so sad that it's happening.
Yeah, it's weird when they embrace ideas that they're supposed to be so avidly against, right? That really throws a lot of people off. Do you ever consider that, because if we're in a war of good and evil, and that's really the force behind the world, right? There's good and there's evil. Yeah. Do you ever wonder that maybe everyone's worshiping the same God, we just call them different ways?
It's super interesting you said that, because yes, I do think, like, especially Christianity and Islam, I've read the Bible and I've read the Quran, and they're so much closer than people realize. People think that, especially traditional American Christians, as you just named, if you were to get the average Christian from Georgia in the countryside, he will see Islam as this far off Arabic religion. Yeah. It's for Middle Eastern people. Well, so is Christianity. It's from the same place. So they're from the same place. Only 20% of Muslims are Arabic anyway. There's huge Islamic nations which are Asian. There's Indonesia, Malaysia, there's huge Islamic nations. So they work hand in hand. And I feel like perhaps Christianity and Islam humans are fallible, and perhaps we don't completely understand what God is or the idea of God, and we're trying to find it in different ways. It's like saying a sentence in English or a sentence in German. You're saying the same thing, but you're saying them in different ways. I think the evil people, are they worshiping God? I'm not sure, because I think they're very openly Satanist. I actually believe they're worshiping Satan and they're against the idea of God. I mean,
there is a huge growing segment of actual vocal open Satanists now. Yeah. And that's really concerning. I've every like month or so, you go on X and you see what's trending, and it's like Satan. Like, why is Satan trending so damn often?
I know. It's scary. And these Satanists, I don't truly know what a Satanist worships, but I guess the idea is absolute free will and absolute hedonism and no respect or no obligation to my bloodline or my society or my duty to the people who I care about. I guess it's just a degree of innate selfishness. If you were to boil Satanism down, it's just about me, 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 me. And I think there's a whole bunch of ideas as well which promote this selfishness. I talk at length about depression and, well, let's take depression. I talk at length about depression and people get upset with my views on it. But I said depression involves a huge degree of narcissism and absolute selfishness. To sit there and go, I'm sad and I don't feel good and I don't feel happy. Like, you just sound me, 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 me. I'm so important. I should be happy. What about me? How do you be depressed without narcissism? And how do you be depressed without absolute selfishness? Bad things happen to you. Bad things happen to everyone. I'm not saying you don't have a hard life. I'm not saying you shouldn't be sad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your obsession with how you feel and no obligation or no concern for the people around you or your duties or the things you need to do is why you feel the way you feel. I find it remarkable that some of these famous people kill themselves when they have kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to say this now. I don't care how much trouble I get in. If you're a man and you have children and you kill yourself, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit. Don't care how sad you feel. You're going to abandon your children because you feel sad? Because you got a thought in your head, a feeling in your brain. You're going to abandon your kids and leave them fatherless? You're a piece of shit.
Cowardice.
You're a coward. And the fact that you will even do that shows the absolute narcissism these people operate under. That they feel like their feelings matter more than the upbringing of the children they birthed. It's insane to me. And if you actually have a sense of duty and a sense of purpose beyond yourself, it's very difficult to get depressed. It's very hard for an individual ant or an individual bee to be depressed if the beehive is functioning. I can't be depressed when I'm in a matrix attack and they're trying to destroy my life and they want me to be sad. I can't be, because I have children to pay for and I have a business to run and I have employees to pay and I have things to do. I don't have time for it because I have to think about something other than myself. So I don't think depression, and in fact, we'll go back to the original point I was going to make. Depression, along with Satanism, along with a lot of these ideas, along with even the LGBTQ crap, it's all about how I feel.
Yeah.
It's not about how does this affect other people. We talked about Mr. Beast earlier. None of these people sit there and go, I feel like changing gender. How will this affect all the children who watch me? How will this affect society? They're so selfish. They only care about themselves. So the Matrix is trying to push selfishness. It doesn't like us to look at the fellow human and see them as something akin to ourselves, because then we're going to be harder to psyop. They only want you to care about you and only you, which is why they push the divisions, right? It's why they push racism on purpose. It's why they push the division, the political parties on purpose. They push the divisions because if we unite and start to sit and say, wait, I care about what happens to other people because of my actions, not just what happens to me, that would be a far different society. So Satanism, I think it's being pushed for the same reasons a lot of things are being pushed. I think if I was in charge of the Matrix and I had to try my very best to control everybody, the first thing I'd want to do is split them up. I'd want everybody to be selfish and self-obsessed and have their little robot at home and their little pod and obsessed with their Apple TV thing on their eyes. Bro, I see that and it scares me. I see people in public with, what are the Apple Vision Pro?
Yeah. That thing is scary.
Bro, the world's over.
I was talking to a young guy who had just bought it. He had it for 3 days. And he said that the longest session he did was something like 9 or 10 hours. And the longest he's not been on it was our conversation outside sleeping. And he said when he wakes up in the morning, he has a migraine. And about 30 minutes to 45 minutes later, the migraine goes away and he goes back in. It's only been 3 days. He's already addicted. Because for him, reality is better with the augmentation around him. Yeah. And he's aware that that's actually happening. But yet, he's like, I need to stop recording soon because I need to go back in.
Wow.
And that's at the first generation of it. Yep. Can you just imagine where we're going to be in 5 years when that technology gets even better?
Bro, every time I see technological advancements now, I get scared.
Yeah.
You've seen that what's it called? Sora. You've seen that?
That's crazy.
Bro. And it's still in beta testing. Imagine we're going to be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And I think personally, what I try and do is get ahead of these things. So I'm not a geek. I'm not technologically super advanced. I have a lot of people who work for me who are. So even inside the war room or inside the real world, I have people inside of my platforms whose specific job, who I pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to a month. So they're on top of these things. So we can teach it to other people. And I see something like Sora and think, okay, that can make me a lot of money if I'm ahead of the curve. So I need to get my team involved in it. We need to make a whole bunch of money. But if you're the average person at home and you're watching AI continually take over the world and you're not at least learning how to implement it so you can benefit, you're toast. You're toast. Most people are going to be replaced so quickly. I don't think the average person at home realizes how replaceable they are. I'd argue now that 80% of the normies I talk to, ChatGPT would be far more interesting than them. They're that boring. The average person at home, if they were trying to get a girl, would be better off putting ChatGPT in the combo than themselves. That's how bad they are. And they're arrogant and they're narcissistic and they think, no, I'm special. Most of you are not special. You're not. And because you're not special, you're going to be replaced by machines. And once you're replaced by machines, you're going to become useless. And you're still going to have expectations. You're still going to want to eat, and you're still going to want a wage, and you're still going to want a good house and a nice car. What are the elites going to do with the populace once they become completely useless and remain to be entitled? You're useless eaters. Useless eaters always end up decimated. In any period of human history, in any civilization, if you had a large subsect of the populace that had no purpose, they got decimated. So if you're at home sitting there thinking, well, I can become useless and the government will just feed me, I'd argue they'll starve you to death instead because they don't need you around. And most people are going to be replaced very quickly by these machines. Sora, I said to my camera guys when I saw Sora, I was like, you're out of a job. You're fired. You're fired. We started laughing about it. But it's true. And think of how fast technology advances. Where are we going to be in 20 years from now?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
It's insane. You need to get ahead of these things.
Yeah, I think AI... We've talked about the negative effects of AI. We know that it's bad for you. The reality of life is that once a technology is invented, you're never going to uninvent it.
Oh, of course.
Like, we know social media is bad for you, but you're never going to uninvent social media. It's here forever.
But it can be used for good and bad.
Exactly. And AI is here forever. And it's going to get worse and more advanced. It's going to take over parts of our lives. We know this. As much as you want to hate it and fight it, as much as I think it's going to be so much evil that comes from it, you have to almost understand it.
Well, I'll give you a very quick example. It can be used for good or bad. Social media can be negative if you sit there and digest bad information, but it's also one of the reasons we managed to get to such large, subsects of the population. So it can be a good thing and a bad thing. Inside the real world, inside my online university, we push AI very heavily. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day who said, oh yeah, I don't use AI because I'm a club promoter. And I said, if you're in any business in the world today, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, it doesn't matter if you're a club promoter, it doesn't matter what business you're in, you should be learning how to implement AI, because it's going to be the people who use AI and the people who fail. Those are the only two options, which is why we teach it so heavily inside of my university. And I said to the club promoter, what do you do? He said, well, I get guys to book expensive tables at the club because I bring pretty girls to the table. And I said, okay, well, if you had an AI machine, let's say you use Sora to put together a video of the best club night ever. And let's say you use Chat GPT to speak to lots of girls and explain what's going to happen and why they're going to have a great time at the club. And also get Chat GPT to speak to rich men and explain to them what a great time they're going to have. And you could mass speak to people at a much larger rate than you can do by yourself sitting there typing. You're going to make more money.
Yeah.
You can implement AI in club promotion. You can get the most fancy video, and you can get a Chat GPT learning bot to realize exactly, this is actually a point I want to make, to realize exactly what trigger words get the girls to want to party and what trigger words get the guy to want to spend money. And you can put together some data, and you can stop talking to people completely, and you can focus on the AI learning mechanisms to do all the work for you, which is why we're teaching it inside of my university. There's not a job on earth where you shouldn't be using AI mechanisms to do it for you, because that's what they're doing to us already.
Yeah.
We live in this surveillance capitalism world where a lot of the tech companies, a lot of the largest companies in the world are making money purely based on prediction of our behavior. They build digital versions of us online. They build there's a digital Matt, there's a digital Andrew based on all of our spending habits, how long we spend on each website, which part of the website we click on first, which websites we visit, how long we spend on our email, which email topics make us reply. They're constantly gathering data on us and putting together digital versions of us so they can predict our behavior to make as much money from us as possible. And once they can do that, they then try and alter our behavior so that we become more profitable. And they do this on purpose so that we become a person who's worth $12.59 to be a person who's worth $14.03 by altering how we react to certain things. So they're already building algorithms and trying to adjust how our mind works. And if you have a company or you are interested in making money in the world today and you're not considering doing exactly that, you're going to permanently fail.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think a lot of people say, hey, I'm working 2 jobs and I feel like I need a way to make some extra income. Yes, I agree. You need more money. Everyone needs more money. If you want to learn something, if you're 15 or you're 55, it's not too late to get into AI.
100%.
And yes, is it evil? Yes, I think so. However, you're not going to uninvent it.
Yep.
You might as well learn it, because this is a way where you can add some extra income to your life. And it's not overly difficult if you just spend a little time to figure it out.
And this is what's interesting, because the current educational systems of Earth, none of them are teaching AI.
Yeah.
I mean, perhaps maybe you go to MIT and you learn about robotics or something, fine.
And at a very advanced level, which you don't need.
Absolutely. The average school isn't teaching you about AI. The average MBA you will do won't teach you about AI. I'm going to sit here and make it very clear and obvious. The only school on the planet I can find that will teach you about artificial intelligence is my one, the real world, and it's $49. For $49, we'll teach you exactly how to use AI to make a whole bunch of money. Which goes back into a point I was saying earlier about certain people are just tied into the matrix and don't want to be freed. If we will sit here and have a long conversation about how artificial intelligence is going to replace most people, and if you don't implement it, you're going to become useless, and your entire bloodline is going to be exterminated because you don't serve any purpose to society. And I'm going to teach you how to use artificial intelligence for $49, and you're still not going to do it. Well, then I guess you just deserve eternal slavery for your bloodline. Some people are just born to lose, I assume. But it's extremely important we implement these things. So when I watched Sora, the conversations I've had, it was only 2 days ago. I was on the phone for 6 or 7 hours with my team inside the real world saying, okay, how can we use this? What can we do with this? And there's 2 different ways to look at it. There is, how can we use artificial intelligence now when no one else is really using it? How do we get ahead of the curve and continue to make millions of dollars? That's easy. The real question is, how do we use AI when everyone else is using it? Once it becomes mainstream and everyone else can do it, when everyone else can produce adverts at the drop of a hat, when everyone else can make their product look fantastic when it isn't, when everybody else can use ChatGPT to be extremely funny and charming and interesting, when there's neurolinks in their brain and everybody can talk like Andrew Tate. Because right now only Andrew Tate can talk like that. When I lose my ability to speak more concisely and compendiously than everybody else, how do I compete then? That's going to be the hard one. But right now we're in a transitional period where it's easy, because if you join the real world or you pay attention or you learn these things, you're so ahead of everyone else. It's like the first person to turn up to the gold mine and you could just dig and pick up all the gold, but there'll become a time where the gold mine's flooded. And that's where you really have to think ahead. So we had a long conversation about how to make a bunch of money now, and that was easy. But the real question is, how do we all make a bunch of money in 20 years when AI is standardized? That's what's going to be the interesting conversation.
I mean, the future is digital. Everything's going to be AI. Everything's going to be digital. We know this for sure. If you think it's not, you got your head in the sand. It's happening no matter what.
100%.
If you are one of the few rare people that are able to clarify and put your ideas out in the world, and the people with analog reasoning and logic and thought and original thought will be the most valuable because of scarcity, right? If you are not one of those people, but you need a way to supplement your current income, I think you have to get into AI. You have to.
100%.
You either feel like you can make it on your own through originality. So people, even if you're a photographer, people who take the most epic analog pictures will be more valuable because there's less of you. If you can make movies and you can be original and you are, I don't know, who's a famous movie producer?
I don't even know nowadays. I can't say George Lucas. I'll get too much Star Wars heat.
No, you can't say that anymore. If you can do that on your own, then you'll be more valuable because of scarcity. If you don't feel like you're the upper echelon of your industry, you have to embrace AI. That's what I think.
100%, because it allows you to work at mass at a much more effective rate, much more effectively. I mean, the amount of websites copywriting is a thing, right? And it still is a thing. But the amount of websites which could benefit from a complete copy change with ChatGPT would make their copy better than it currently is. The amount of average electricians have a little terrible website somewhere in Texas, and you could literally ChatGPT their entire website, and you could charge them money for that. And they don't even realize that you use ChatGPT because they don't have a clue what it is, because they're behind the times. And you could literally make money for 10 seconds work. Now, if you could get an AI bot to reach out to them all, if you get an AI bot to speak to them all, if you could produce them a movie using Sora showing the coolest electrician on earth, like there's so much potential that can be done. It's so ridiculously easy to make money if you actually try. But implementing AI is something you need to do because it's the future. It's like ignoring gunpowder. If you ignore gunpowder, you'll lose the war. You could have looked at gunpowder at some point and said, we got bows and arrows, it'll be fine. No, it won't. As it advances, it's going to get to the point where they soon have Gatling guns and you're all toast. And it's exactly the same in the business environment, which is why we're implementing AI. Inside the real world, we don't just have an AI campus. We implement AI into every other campus. So we have a specific campus on artificial intelligence, and then we implement AI in our copywriting campus and our crypto campus and all of our other campuses. We have 18 of them. But it's super important that it's done. And I'm kind of also, we talk about fraternity. I'm not going to lie. I'm very glad I have such a good network of people, because I have so many people who work for me and people around me who know things I don't know. And it's amazing. And I'll tell you another thing that's kind of scary. There are so many kids nowadays that are smart, bro. I have 18, 19-year-olds who work for me doing this AI stuff. And I'm like, bro, I'm a dinosaur now. I'm like, I don't know. I can talk. And you can't talk like me. You're socially awkward and weird, and you can't get laid. I can do all that, but you're doing this, bro.
They just figured it out.
Bro, it's crazy. The world's changing so fast, and you need to have a team of people. It's kind of like the chessboard, right? I think one of the problems we have in the West, especially, I've noticed, I feel like families in the East are a little bit better. Certainly Islamic families are better, but in the West, everyone wants to be the king on the chessboard. But truthfully, to have a good team, you need a king, and you need a bishop, and you need a rook, and you need a knight, and you need pawns, and everyone needs to know their job. And if everyone does their job well, you win the game. Especially the queen. She's another piece on the chessboard, one of the most powerful pieces. If everyone does their job right, then you're fine. But when you have a bunch of people trying to be the king, then it all falls apart. So I think one of the powers of my fraternity especially is that I have my role and people have their roles, and we work together and we forever win. We never lose.
But if you're a ruler of the world and one of the globalist elite, and the world is your chessboard, isn't that why they think what they think? Everyone needs to have their role.
100%.
And I'm the king.
100%.
And everyone else, you guys are pawns, rooks, and we'll place you.
100%. And that's the thing that I find so amazing. When I say these things to people, all I'm doing is describing human nature. If you're born into the bloodline of, let's say you're born into a banking bloodline, and let's say you're going to all these weird sex parties and you've never worked a day in your life and you live on a yacht and you're just some weirdo banker, right? They're going to believe they're genetically superior to you. Are they? No. Are they physically stronger than an NFL athlete? Fuck no. Are they genetically superior? Are they smarter than the average person? Probably not. But they're going to believe they are because they're born into that lineage. So they're going to believe that they're somehow special and better than you. They're going to believe that they can make you do things that they don't have to do because they're better than you. That's human nature. They're the king on the chessboard and they have a lot of power and they're going to put you in a position of serfdom because they want to do it. The question is, are you going to accept it? That's the final line now. Are you going to accept that position of serfdom, or are you going to sit in there and say, no, I resist. I don't want to do that. And I'm going to get rich and important myself so I can live my own version of reality that I want to exist in. I don't want to exist in your version of reality. You're either a player on someone else's board, or you can try and make a genuine impact. And it's kind of like we were talking about the war earlier and how it's coming for all of us. And every single battle that's ever happened in history, it doesn't matter if it was Waterloo, it doesn't matter if it was one of the battles in ancient Rome or ancient Greece, it doesn't matter if it was the Spartans, it doesn't matter what it was. There's a death toll, there's a number, and there's a few notable names. Everybody died.
Yeah.
Everyone died. So when they finally kill us, at least they remember our names, sir.
Yeah.
Well, all these other people at home who are afraid to talk and tell the things that we tell are going to die just the same, but they're going to be one of 13,044 deaths. It's going to be 13,044 deaths. Matt, Andrew. At least we get that bit. And if you're going to die anyway, you may as well grab the last bits you can get.
At least have your name ingrained in history. Then eventually someone's going to make a movie about you. Not like a small movie, but like a real Hollywood big production eventually. Because they made a movie about the kid from GameStop.
It's true, yeah.
They're going to make a movie about you one day.
Who's going to play me?
Who's going to play you?
Yeah. AI, probably.
No, like seriously, who do you think, if someone were to play you, who would play you? Because eventually they will. For sure
they will, but you know what? That scares me because I recently watched the Napoleon movie. And they just made him some pussy-hungry little weirdo cuck. That wasn't... I mean, I didn't know Napoleon. But why did they make him that way? Like, that had to be an attack on him. Okay, maybe he loved his wife. Maybe he was a bit obsessed with his wife, surely. But he was also Napoleon. Can't you give him any credit? Can't you make him a gangster or a G in any part of the movie? Does he have to be a bitch the whole way through? Like, can't you at least make him cool when he's fighting? Like, anything? I don't know. It's such a psyop. Everything's a psyop now.
Everything's a psyop.
They're going to make a movie about me and I'm going to be the worst person ever. He's a misogynist. He hates women. You know what?
That would do you credit. They're going to make a movie and they're like, oh, he's such a simp. That's just worse.
Yeah. But it's amazing how the Matrix says you're misogynistic for trying to protect and provide for women. For me saying, I don't believe a woman can do the things that I can do because I'm born a man and I have capabilities she doesn't have, and vice versa. That makes me a misogynist. I don't believe I can get pregnant. I believe she can. I don't believe she can fight. I believe I can. Why does that make me misogynistic? Why does that make me misogynistic to say that I can protect and provide for my woman better than she could do for herself? How does that make me a misogynist? And every single woman I meet is like, I wish I met a man like you who would protect me and provide for me. I'm like, I know. So where is this misogyny garbage coming from? Well, it's coming from a small vocal minority of psychopathic feminists who truly hate men. The only hate is coming from them. I don't hate women. If I hated women, I wouldn't want to protect and provide for them. If I hated women, I would endorse feminism. If I hated women, I'd say, go get a job, protect yourself, stick up for yourself. If a man breaks into your house, you fight them. We're equal. That's what you do when you hate women. You don't protect and provide for them. The whole thing's a psyop. But I think the misogyny feminism garbage is actually collapsing much faster than a lot of other narratives. It's very hard to find anybody who still believes in that crap now.
Yeah. Some of the narratives are, that they weren't going to last. And some narratives are trendy. Some cultural things are trendy. And the misogynist feminism thing is one of those things that's kind of going away.
Do you know why feminism's collapsing? I'll tell you. Because the world's getting harder and the good days are over. And we're about to enter a period of chaos and war and difficulty. And inflation is here to destroy all of our currencies. And it's getting harder and harder to even make a living or travel anywhere or live a good life. And you often find that as soon as things get difficult, even the feminists want to make you sandwiches. You soon learn that even they are the first ones to say, this whole working thing, this is hard. How about you do all the work and I'll look after the home? Feminists will instantly abandon their ideals as soon as it gets difficult.
And we're there.
So as the world gets more difficult, all the feminists are putting on aprons and begging for me, trying to make me a sandwich, and they're all rejected, unfortunately. But it's amazing how the reality of life can destroy these ideals. And as the world gets harder and harder, I mean, let's put it this way. If World War III were to come to America, heaven forbid, all this transgenderism crap would go out the window.
Yeah.
Because now it's time to do something real. And feminism might be the first one to fall. And unfortunately, it's a shame it takes such hardship for the holes in these ideals to be pointed out. But the reason feminism isn't being purported and the reason it can't be sustained anymore and the whole idea of misogyny and all this crap is falling apart is because life is hard. And men are good at doing hard things. Men are better at a hard life than women. The women I know, I don't want them to be good at hard life. I would hate a woman to be as resilient as me. If I met a woman who could go through the things I went through and survive, I'd be very concerned. I wouldn't find it attractive either. I like a woman who would cry when bad things happen to her because I like her emotionality. I like her femininity. But as the world gets more and more difficult, men are better at that. And that's why all the feminists are throwing their ideas out the window. You can notice now, bro, 2020, 2019, feminists were all over social media.
Yeah.
Now it's all these girls saying, I never wanted a job. I never wanted to work. Who tricked me? Well, you tricked yourself by falling for the psyop. And now no man wants to take care of your ass because we've seen your old social media when you're talking about being a boss bitch, traveling the world, fucking partying on boats with your tits out. Now no one wants to look after you. You should have been a feminist. You should have thrown that shit away from the beginning. So yeah, feminism's collapsed and harsh reality has made it collapse because it's not a sustainable idea because it's not real. And the reality is that men and women are different and we're better at different things and we work as a team. And when we work as a team and understand our roles, we do better. If you're a tailor and you're an accountant and you want to open a tailor business, well, then the tailor makes the clothes and the accountant does the books. If you reverse the jobs, or if you sit there and say, I can be an accountant as good as you can and you can make clothes as good as I can, we're the same. And half the clothes are made by the tailor and half the clothes are made by a random accountant. You're going to have a crap business and it's going to fail. You have roles and you work together and you're a perfect team. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. But feminism is kind of funny. Feminists were everywhere 3 or 4 years ago. Where have all the feminists gone? This is my question to the world. Where have they all gone? Now that inflation's here, now that the world's difficult, why can't I find a feminist to debate with anymore? For a while they were everywhere and now they're all trying to hide behind a man somewhere and live for free.
Where'd all the boss bitches go?
Oh, they've all gone. It's funny, yeah. Now that everyone's bored of paying for OnlyFans account and crypto ain't going up like it used to be, all these boss bitches have vanished. All the feminists are out the window now that life is difficult because the whole idea was bullshit from the beginning.
What do you think about this burgeoning group of these red pill women? Because after you, now there's a whole community of red pill girls online. Yeah. And they're basically taking a lot of your ideas and they're repurposing it from a female voice. Girls like Pearl, I think that's her name.
Pearl, yeah, I know Pearl. I mean,
what do you think about that? It's a new thing. It didn't exist 5 years ago.
It's true. It's a new thing. And I know Pearl and I've been on her podcast. I know her well. And I know there's a bunch of other ones that are doing this TradCon stuff. I don't really watch any of it. I have to be honest. It's hard for me to comment on a lot of content because I am the worst content. I don't consume content ever. I just make my own and I don't watch any of it. I do see some very pretty girls now, though. There's a couple pretty ones who are talking about TradCon values and all this kind of stuff. I always wonder how true they are to it.
It's trendy right now.
It's trendy, and it was trendy to be a feminist before. So this is what I mean. So how true are they to it? Because I don't know. I don't know these people. I guess if you're true to it, I believe that you find a man and you love that man and you stick with him forever no matter what. And that's the kind of man you want to be with. And a real woman doesn't leave her man. And that's what I believe in. I don't know who these women are. I don't know what they're saying. But if they're 30-something and they're not married, I mean, I don't know. What have you been doing all that time? Sleeping with who? I don't know. I don't know.
It's a new trend. It's like it didn't exist before. Now
let me be misogynistic now. Now I'll be misogynistic.
Comedy.
Let's do comedy. Comedy. Real. Women follow trends because women are susceptible to societal trends because they're malleable, because they do not have physical capability to defend themselves. E.g., if a new tribe conquers the current tribe, the women will quickly adapt to the ideals of the new tribe to survive. So when the Nazis conquered France, the French women slept with the Nazis. I mean, for a while, they were upset that their husband was killed. I don't know, maybe 3 days. And after that, they're like, cool, I need a man to pay the bills. So they got with the Nazi soldiers. That's how women are. They're selfish, they're self-absorbed, and they just adhere to the power structures and follow the power structures because they can't resist them because they can't fight. So, and I'm not insulting women. This is a fact. If a new, more powerful force takes over, e.g. the Nazis taking over France, they'll adhere to that ideal for survival. Now that feminism's collapsing and traditional masculinity and traditional roles is popular again, they're adhering to this worldview because it allows them to survive. They can't argue feminism anymore because it's failed in real time. They don't have an innate ability to argue against the general consensus of Earth. Again, exceptions don't disprove the rule, but in general, because they don't have physical capability, they know what's cool and what's popular and they love attention. So now they're all tradcon. Do they really mean it? I don't know. Now it's the cool thing to say. When feminism was cool, I said the same things. Now that masculinity is cool, I'm saying the same things. If feminism becomes cool again, I will say the same things. But I'm Andrew Tate. I'm the top G. I fear nobody. Put me in jail. I don't care. By myself, sitting there with the cockroaches, just me and Tristan smoking cigarettes. I'm fearless. It doesn't matter to me. These chicks who are tradcon now, will they flip when the game flips? We'll see, because a lot of women do that.
But if the idea is that a lot of these influencers are following the trend, that means being masculine, have traditional values is now the trend.
It is.
Isn't that actually positive for society that these women are doing these things because they weren't doing it 5 years ago?
100%. It's amazing that they're saying these things. It's amazing that we've changed the culture. I believe I was part of that. Trump was part of that. You saying the right thing's part of that. What is cool now wasn't cool 3 years ago. Things are changing. I'm not complaining that they're making this content. I'm glad they are. My question is, how true are their core beliefs? And then you go deeper down the rabbit hole into the semi-misogyny area where people are going to have a panic attack. How true is any woman's core belief when she can't defend the belief? You go deeper down the rabbit hole, you understand. If you're not prepared to defend an idea, you don't hold an idea. If you're not prepared to stand up to people who disagree with you and defend it vigorously, then you've never held it in the first place. If you can't defend it, it's not yours. So a lot of women, when they're challenged openly because they fear societal pressure, they feel being ostracized, they feel being criticized, they don't want to be insecure, they fear these things, and because they're not brave enough to deal with the consequences of holding a controversial idea, no woman's going to jail for her idea. I did. Name a chick who's going to go sit with the cockroaches for 93 days in a Romanian dungeon for her idea on YouTube. Name one. Not a single one. They're pussies, as they should be. They're women. I don't want women to be as brave as me. So they're scared. So if you're a woman and you can be scared out of saying certain things, and you're scared of being criticized for certain things, and you're scared of physical confrontation, and you're scared of being ostracized, do you even believe anything? Do you really believe it? This is a philosophical question.
Yeah.
Do you truly believe it? You may believe it when you say it, but there's a difference between believing something when it's convenient and it's soft and it's easy and believing something when it's hard. They're very different things. I know my beliefs are core to my heart. I know that I believe them because I will suffer for them. If you don't suffer for your idea, do you believe it?
And do you really want women to stand up for their ideas anyway?
Misogynist.
Because, for example, I remember in 2020, we were going to vote. And 2016 and 2020, my wife is originally from Korea, so she became an American citizen after we got married.
Yep.
It was the first time that she had the ability to vote.
Yep.
And we were going to vote, and she was really excited because she finally got her right to vote. And she says to me, "Who are you voting for?" And I said, "You can vote for whoever you want. This is your decision." She's like, "No, like, I get that, and I'm really excited to do it. But why would I vote against you? Yep. Because then I'm canceling your vote. Correct. Whatever you do, I want to vote what you're voting because I want to amplify your vote."
Absolutely.
And it's not that she doesn't think for herself. It's that she realized that she could fight me and oppose me, or she can amplify me. Absolutely. And her gut instinct was, I'd rather amplify my husband rather than choose something else.
Absolutely. And that's what a good woman does. I can even tell you from my current battle, the current battle I'm in, I don't think most people understand or would ever be capable of understanding what a matrix attack does to you. I've had no banks. I'm banned from everything from Skype to Uber to Gmail to Instagram to YouTube. No app on my phone works. I've had no access to money for 2 years. I was in jail for 93 days. I was locked in my house for 5 months. I wasn't allowed to leave my house. Okay, I live in a very nice mansion, but imagine I didn't. How do you make money when you're locked in your house? You're financially decimated. All my cars were taken off me. $900,000 in cash was taken off me. All my gold was taken off me. My diamond watch collection was taken off me. My children were harassed. The mothers of my children were arrested. The crap I've been through is monumental. Most women couldn't handle that. Most men couldn't handle that. And the women near me say the same thing. They say, you're a hero. And I think a woman's job to a man is to power him up with love and let him go. It's like feed the bear and let the bear go fight. You give the bear some food and then you say, go kill. And that's a woman's job. She loves her man and she gives her man power to go out there and face the world. It's not her job to face the world. It's our job to face the world. And she powers us with love. And what your wife said is perfectly correct. She's there to help you and amplify you and power you up and make you as powerful a force as possible in the world, whether it's your vote or anything else. That is a woman's job. And a woman who is good at being a woman will do exactly that. She isn't going to come along and try and oppose her man or be as good at her as her man at anything. My girl will open say to me, I'm not as organized as you. I'm not as smart as you. I'm not as quick as you. I'm not as fast as you. I'm not as brave as you. All the things you do, I don't know how you do it, but I'll try and love you and make you happy so you're good at doing them. And that's why we're such a powerful force. And that's why we work so fantastically together, which goes into another point earlier that we were saying earlier about women defending ideas. It's kind of interesting because we can apply this to feminism also. Women don't hold ideas without men because women can't defend ideas. Feminism's a male movement because feminists need men as much as they demonize men. Because if you have a open conversation with a feminist and you really disagree with her and you oppose it and she gets offended or upset, she's going to call the police and she's going to call men. She is. Like, if you look at a society where women can't call the police, how many are feminists? None. Feminism is supported by men in masculine capability and masculine threat of violence, like the rest of society. Every idea on the planet, I don't think many people understand this, every idea on the planet is backed by the threat of violence. We say we live in a peaceful society. That's a scam. Any idea any of us hold is backed by the threat of violence. The government says you need to pay your parking ticket. If you don't pay it, they'll add more money. And if you don't pay it, they'll send you a court summons. And if you don't go, they'll send a bailiff to take things from your house. And if you refuse to let them in, police will come. And if you refuse to comply with the police, they get violent. It all comes down to violence in the end. So if you have any idea anywhere, even feminism, a woman will sit there and say, men are trash. And a man will sit there and be insulted by it. And let's say that man is low IQ and he's an idiot. And he says, don't call me trash again. I find that offensive. If a man calls me trash, I'll punch him in the face. And you said we're equal, so don't call me trash again because I see us as equal now. Don't do it. And she goes, I still think you're trash. She's doing that because she knows she can call the police. And the police are men with guns. Masculine men, violent men. The exact men she said were toxically masculine and she didn't like, she now relies on to insult. So it's insane that all ideas in society are backed by violence, which means all ideas in society are backed by men and our innate capability for violence, meaning feminism is supported because men allow it to exist. And feminism requires male violence and toxically masculine males more than nearly any other idea, which shows how false the whole thing is. So we're talking about, do women even have any ideas and can they support any ideas because they can't handle the being ostracized? Do women have any ideas at all without men? Or do women always, since the dawn of human time, found a man they respect and adopt his ideas like your wife did? Maybe they've always done that. Has there ever been a society of women where the women held vastly different ideas to the men? Ever? Has there ever been?
Well, then, because I have a daughter, you have a daughter.
Correct.
And people are watching and be like, you can't say that because you guys have daughters. I hear it all the time, right? Regardless.
My daughter has my ideas. I'll just say it right now. My daughter's going to listen to me.
And I think of women, and I want my daughter to be able to work because she chooses to work, not because she has to work.
Agreed.
If she wants to pursue a career of something of passion, of embetterment of the world, amazing.
Yep.
If you want to make a decision to better society and you have the ability to learn and think and you want to create change, amazing. If you have to grow up and you have to work a job that you absolutely hate just for the sake of working, I'm adamantly against that.
Yeah.
And that's the guy's rule.
100%. And I think everyone often comes at me with that as well. They're like, well, you have daughters. Why do you think what you think? What did I just say that's bad? I said that men protect ideas in the world. We protect masculine ideas and we protect the ideas of women. Women adhere to male ideas because women can't defend an idea. That's what I've said. And there's nothing bad about that. And I'll make it clear how my daughter's life is going to work. I'm in charge because I'm responsible. You are going to listen to your father. I'm going to pay for you and take care of you. Those two things go hand in hand. If you stop listening to me, I will not take care of you. If you find another man, he better take care of you, which means you have to be very careful who you choose because you're a millionaire living a princess life. You're flying on private jets at 2 years old and you're taken care of by your father who will die to protect you. The second you get a boyfriend, that ends and he is in charge. So if he can't put you on jets and he can't die to protect you, you better choose better. And I strongly recommend you wait a very long time and make sure your first boyfriend's your only boyfriend. And you better not mess it up. And you better get a good one. And I believe that if I give her a good enough life in her early years and she understands that as soon as she finds a man, she loses me, she's going to be very selective of the man she chooses because I'm a hard man to match. That's my job. And that's my goal. And I'm not going to have a daughter who disobeys me. I'm not going to have a daughter who disregards what I say and is still rewarded by my monumental competence and enormous finance. She's going to obey me and she's going to have a very good life until she finds another rich man who can do as she says, who can take care of her. It's as simple as that. And I don't think it's that complicated a premise. I actually think it's far more difficult to raise a son than a daughter. The problem with raising a son is that, and I'm very careful about how many kids I say I have, etc. But when you're raising your son, the biggest problem is the mother. Because most mothers don't understand how difficult a boy's life needs to be for him to be truly competitive. If you're raising a daughter, it's very easy. She's a princess. She sometimes cries. You can play games with her. You make her laugh. She's best friends with the mom. It's all a big happy scenario. Ha ha ha. It's all happy. If my 3-year-old daughter cries, don't care. If my 3-year-old boy cries, I'm enraged. What are you crying over? Welcome to the real world, boy. What are you crying for? And when I was young, my father would walk past me and just push me over. Just push me over at random. And I'd get up. And my mom would say, why are you doing that? And he'd say, because that's life. That's life as a man. You get pushed over and you just got to get up. If you're raising a son and you do that, the son may cry a bit, but he'll get over it. He'll learn the game. He'll understand the game. Your son will actually get good at the game. You'll see him start to learn to backpedal and laugh and say, ha ha ha, you didn't get me, dad. It'll all become fun. The only problem is the wife, the woman. Leave him alone. The woman makes him soft. Most women don't understand how hard life is as a man because they've never experienced it and how hard you need to be on a boy. And I say to Tristan all the time, I said, if it was just you and me raising our sons, they would be killers, bruv. Killers. Imagine that, men raising boys. Spartans. Bro, but the wife is all like, So I think raising a boy is harder because you have the wife sometimes in the way of what they truly need to become killers. Raising a girl is easy. I don't know what boyfriend's going to come along because my daughter's going to understand. She's going to say to her boyfriend, if we sleep together, all my life ends. And I'm in a Lambo and I'm in a mansion and I'm flying on jets and everything. Can you pay for this? Like, if he can't pay for it, it's over. And I'm unforgiving and stubborn, and she'll know that. You get one shot. You get one chance. Don't mess it up.
I feel like when she goes into that situation in life where she has to make a decision and you don't agree, you're going to realize raising a daughter is the hardest thing in the world. Because now you're going to be put into a choice. Because she defied you at something you were adamantly against, but she's still your daughter. And then now you're really going to have to make a hard decision.
I know what you're saying.
Because you say, that's it. These are my rules. But when it happens, you're like, but I love her.
You know what? You're totally right. But the thing is, I'm a feminist. So as a feminist, I believe that women are adults and they're sovereign individuals and they come to their own conclusions and make their own choices. And I believe, just as I'd explain to a man very calmly, fairly, and rationally, that if there is cause and effect in this universe and that all of their actions will have an equal and opposite reaction. And I believe that women are just as capable. So when I explain to her that her life ends the second she chooses a man, and if that man cannot replicate the life I currently provide for her, she's going to have to do with that substandard version of reality. It's her choice to make. And I will tell you one thing, Matt. I am as stubborn as they come. I am as... If I won't listen to the Matrix and I'll go to a jail cell with the cockroaches, nobody tells me what to do. And I am that guy. And yeah, I'll love her with all my heart. But you know what? I'll love her, and she'll be crying her eyes out. I made a mistake. And I'm going to sit there and say, I told you. I was right, wasn't I? You were right. You were right. I know. Okay. So how about this? You can remember that I was right, and you remember you made a bad decision, and you can continue with your life knowing that for the rest of human time. Because I don't give second chances like that. I've never been that guy.
And the funny thing about being a girl dad is that you say all of that, and the time comes.
We'll see.
And maybe sometimes you break.
We'll see.
You know, and I don't want to encourage it because maybe she's watching and she's
see.
I knew it.
You know what? We'll see. It's kind of funny though, because
it's one of those things.
But I've heard that my whole life. Like
Yeah.
people have often said that to me in other scenarios. They said, when you meet a woman you truly love, you'll change. I don't need to change because I'm not wrong. If I have a woman I truly love with all my heart, and I take care of her absolutely completely, and I adore her, and she's my number one, and she's my partner, and I think about her all the time, but she oversteps, she's gone. I am as stubborn as they come. And I have firm lines for the reason we said earlier. If you give an inch, take a mile. I'm a very fair man. I'm firm, but I'm fair. I'm harsh, but I am fair. I will warn you in advance. I'm that guy who says, please don't talk to me that way. I will smash your face in. Please stop. Walk back. And they won't do it. And then I'll hurt them. I'm very fair all of the time. And I've been told the same thing in relationships, and I've never yet crumbled. And we'll see with my daughter. Perhaps God will teach me a lesson. We will see. But I'm not concerned about my daughters, truthfully.
Yeah.
I think my daughters will be looking for a man like their father. And if they do that, then they'll be okay, because I know the kind of man I am. I'm worried about my sons, not because it's particularly difficult. I just feel like I have a very vested interest, because they're going to be the kings of an empire. So they're going to be inheriting hundreds of millions of dollars. They're going to be known as my son. I'm not having some average son. Like, no, he has to be a warlord. I expect for everyone watching this, the UFC roster in 20 years from now, will be Tate. So that's what it's going to be, because they don't need to make money. I have money, so they're just going to be killers. They're going to be warriors. So I feel like I have a huge responsibility for my boys more than my girls. Maybe that's misogynistic, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's different with guys and girls. It's tough, you know, because guys, if you set these huge expectations for them, and if they feel like they're not going to meet it, then it's not easy. Sometimes they crumble and they go further down than you want them to, because they feel like they couldn't live up to the expectation, and it crushes them internally. And it's good, because if they step out of it and they're able to fight through it, they become greater than you.
Yep.
If they don't become greater than you, then forever they're like, I'm not my dad.
Well, you know, that's true, but I'm not going to lie. I have massive expectations for all of my kids. They better be better than me at everything. I refuse to accept the expectations too high. I don't care. Don't care if the pressure's too large. Yes, you have massive shoes to fill. Get to work. I am refusing to allow, bro. If my father was still alive and I tried to say, oh, Dad, you know, the last name Tate is hard to live up to, and I don't know if I can do it. Bro, I don't think I wouldn't be alive. What's wrong with you, son? Like, I was raised, it's kind of interesting, because I was raised in that environment where I had massive expectations on my name, put on me because of my last name. And it encouraged me to thrive. All it did was make me paranoid I'm not working hard enough. All it did was make me concerned that I don't try hard enough. And even if I'm trying my best, I still feel like I'm not trying hard enough. But that's propelled me to the massive success I currently enjoy. I'm the highest possible echelons of finance and masculine capability. I'm happy I had that expectation on me. I would change nothing about my childhood. And I want massive expectation on my children. And if they fail, that's fine. But what did we say earlier about indoctrinating our children? That's what I expect. And if they fail, it's not going to be because of the ideas I put in their mind. It's going to be because of the ideas the Matrix has put in their mind, which means I've, I guess, to a degree, failed as a parent, and they failed as a human to listen to them. I'm going to sit and say to my kid, no, you are the son of Andrew Tate. You have every gift God could give you genetically. I know how good I am. I know how good you can be if you try like I tried. You even have more advantages because I grew up with no money. You're rich now. You haven't even got to worry about eating. I didn't have food. You have food. You could do anything. If he starts to sit there and doubt himself, it's because the Matrix got to him, which to a degree is my failing. And also it's his failing for listening. He should believe in himself absolutely and completely. And there should be a podcast in 20 years from now where a man sits down who's slicker talking than I am, who's more knowledgeable than I am, wiser, smarter, all of it. I expect the next agents of the Matrix to be furious at my offspring and putting them in jail. I expect absolutely nothing less.
So do you want your sons to follow in your footsteps as being the guy that challenges authority, goes against the establishment. Do you want that for them? Or do you want them, or do you have this desire? Like, I kind of wish they were a little bit compliant because they'd live easier, simpler lives.
Nope. They're born for war. They are born for war. All of my sons will be born for war. All 30 Andrew Tates will exist purely to be a thorn in the side of authority for the rest of human time and pay homage to me. And when people ask them on future podcasts, why are you such a pain in the ass to the Matrix? Why don't you have your AI QR code tattooed on your head? They're going to say, because my father wouldn't allow it. And I will live into eternity in the memories of society because all of my 30 sons are continually resisting the enslavement of humanity. John Connor will be replaced by the future Andrew Tate against Skynet. That's why they exist. I'm not paying for their lives or dealing with their mothers for anything other than their resistance to enslavement.
And you wonder why they want to cancel you.
Take me to jail. Put me in jail. It's fine. I don't live in fear.
I want to create a generation of me to go against the Matrix, but I don't understand why they hate me.
No, I understand. I understand very well.
Yeah, obviously.
I'm surprised I'm still breathing, to be honest with you.
What do you think they're actually going to do? Do you think they're really going to come after you? Like, how deep of an attack do you honestly think this is?
I think this was a warning shot.
Yeah. Because it's serious, but I don't want to belittle or degrade kind of the charges that you're going against and what you're going up against, but it could be worse.
For sure. They have tried to financially decimate me and they've attempted to damage my reputation, but people no longer believe the lies of the Matrix. This was a warning shot. I have lost probably in excess of 60 or 70 million dollars. They've tried to financially cripple me and they thought I'd be scared and I would shut up. I have a feeling if I wasn't so vocal about the fact I'll never sell my soul, they would have come along with another sponsorship deal. I think they would have actually tried to give me a lifeboat and said, now you're broke. Do you want to sign it now? And now we'll make the media shut up about you. But they know I'll never sign it. So we'll see if that comes. I feel like this case is absolute garbage. It was a warning shot. It'll be dropped soon. But I have a feeling if I'm not quiet within the next 3 to 4 years, I'll end up in a cell for a very long time. Probably a 4 or 5 year stretch. And then unless the culture of the world changes significantly, after that, we'll have to see what happens. However, if Trump wins and the culture changes and people continue to not believe, it's going to be a lot harder for them to lock me up. We're going to have to see.
Do you think, because right now you're online, they let you be online a bit, depending on the platform. Yeah. I put up a video the other day and I said, I'm going to Romania and I'm going to go meet with the brothers. I never said your name. Yep. Nothing. But TikTok, they deleted it before it got 1 view. Because usually if I put up a video on TikTok and they don't like the idea, they'll let it get like maybe 500,000 views and then they'll delete it. Yep. Right? They won't let it go, but they'll delete it and they'll say misinformation or hateful speech or hateful ideology. I get it all the time. I put up a video, didn't mention your name, showed a picture real quickly, and it got deleted before it got 1 view. Yep. They are using AI facial recognition to go through the videos and identify, who's in there and what the topics are. They're not even listening to words anymore. They're using AI, which is really scary. Yep. If they wanted to cancel you, wouldn't they just put you into the algorithm and say he can't amplify his voice any longer? Do they even have to do all this charade of trial?
Yeah. So TikTok has the most advanced AI in regards to deleting me. Meta are trying to do the same thing, but they're not as effective because it's actually very advanced technology. TikTok is quite impressive with how heavily they've suppressed me. And that shows how heavily they're going to suppress dissenting voices in future. I'll be honest right now and tell everyone. TikTok started banning me. So then my team would invert the videos because my face would be inverted. And that would escape the ban for 2 weeks. It's like the Borg. You ever watch Star Trek? Mm-hmm. The Borg adapts. Yeah. And then they'd get rid of the inversion. And then we'd put a voice muffler on it. Then they get rid of the voice muffler. And then we'd use a cartoon version of me and they'd identify the cartoon somehow. Then static pictures of me, like you just named, they get rid of. Then my voice. TikTok are sitting there at the very cutting edge of AI specifically to get rid of me. They hate me. TikTok do. And I think the reason for that is because they were dragged into the Senate and they were attacked for hateful ideologies and dangerous ideologies. And they saw the future of their platform was contingent on getting me off of it because I'm seen as dangerous to the Democrats and the Democrats were hammering them. And they thought we had to get rid of Andrew or TikTok's going to get banned because I was everywhere. So they've literally invented brand new technology to get rid of me, which means the future for anybody else with the dissenting voice is dangerous because it starts with me And soon it's all of you who don't agree that your son should chop his dick off. It's coming for all of you.
Because people
Meta are trying the same. YouTube tried the same. But the problem with Meta and YouTube is they're failing and they're losing to TikTok right now. And they need views. And I have views. So they kind of let it slide. And then we have Rumble and X, which are as close as you can get to free speech on the world today. And they're doing a fantastic job at keeping the light alive.
Yeah.
But
I think Rumble and X are doing a fantastic job. They're just not YouTube. They're not TikTok. They're not Instagram yet.
They're not yet. But the one thing about power, the only guarantee of power is that one day you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
The only guarantee the universe gives you when you have power is that one day you are going to lose it. Please listen to this at home and remember it. So if you're a man right now and your woman does everything you say and she adores you because you have power over her, because she respects you, the only guarantee of that power is that one day it's going to wane, and you have to be prepared for that. And I think that these social media platforms that currently have all the power are abusing it, thinking that they're going to have it forever. And the harder you abuse your power, the harder you use your power, the quicker it runs out. It's like a glass of water. You keep pouring it out. The faster you pour, the harder you pour, the quicker it runs out. It's actually a very interesting year because we have the election year. There's going to be a lot of information coming out, which normally they would say is disinformation, misinformation, dangerous information. But people want to hear it, and they can't ban everybody. So depending how much power they utilize, the more they utilize, the quicker it's going to be exhausted. And that's going to amplify platforms like Rumble and X. If I was an investor, if I wasn't completely broke because Decot took all my money, I would invest very heavily in Rumble stock because I believe that as the Matrix continues to attempt censorship, the free speech platforms are going to explode. I think that although you're right, they're not currently YouTube, I think they will be soon. I truly believe that people have had enough of this garbage. I said it when I was first canceled in August of 2022. When I was first canceled, I said it on the Patrick Bet David podcast. I said, everyone's tired of this crap. There's a lot of pressure behind the dam. Everyone's sad about it, but all it takes for the dam to break is a crack. And the crack in the dam is going to be somebody who is canceled and ends up larger than they were before their cancellation. Because until I was canceled, when you got canceled, you vanished. I was the first one who got canceled and got bigger. Then they put me in jail and I got bigger. They're going to put me back and I'm going to get bigger. Then they're going to kill me. That's what's going to happen. And I think now we've reached a critical stage where the harder they try to censor, the bigger they're going to make the other platforms. That's all they're going to do. And that wasn't that way before. I love Rumble and they've been fantastic to me. But I asked people, who heard of Rumble before I moved to Rumble? When did you see Rumble on Twitter before I moved to honestly? And now there's other big names on there and who've done a fantastic job also who I want to give credit to. Dan is a fantastic name. Russell Brand's a fantastic name. And you're on Rumble. But I feel like it's getting difficult for the social media platforms now. Because before it was just, cancel him, get rid of him, and he'll disappear.
Yeah.
But now it's cancel him, get rid of him, he exists somewhere else. So they're funding their competitor. They're providing content to their competitors now. I feel like the YouTube boardroom now is a lot more complicated when they sit around and go, this person's saying this, but he gets a lot of views. Do we cancel it?
Yeah.
He's going to move to Rumble. He's still going to be heard. We're losing the ad rev. And they fall apart. So I don't know. I think we'll be okay.
I think the biggest difference between like a Rumble and a YouTube, and I think why it's tough because we live in a clicks and views economy.
Yep.
And on YouTube, anyone can post any random video and somehow hits the algorithm and it can go 100 million views. Yep. Like on any given day. Yep. It happens to people all the time. They get addicted and they never leave. On Rumble, it's people, you have to be known and build your brand elsewhere to bring them with you to Rumble. It's really hard for discovery.
Yes.
And that's maybe what people chase, right? People want to get discovered. Yep. And it's easier to get discovered on one of the bigger platforms because they promote discovery a little bit more versus the ability for free speech.
Good. So it sounds like an onboarding platform. So you start getting discovered on YouTube. You make sure you back up all your videos on Rumble, which you can do instantly. There's an algorithm which allows you to upload to YouTube and it automatically backs up your content on Rumble. And then when you eventually get canceled for having an opinion, you'll have a Rumble platform ready for you. Buy Rumble stock. A solution. Buy Rumble stock.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it over there. I feel like the engagement is better. Yeah. I really like that they really heavily try to push the live stream part, which I think is fantastic. I think streaming is more fun than posting a video because you get the live chat interaction. Of course. And just seeing the comments. It's like, all right, whenever I'm talking about it's stupid, no one cares. Yeah. But you say something that hits and everyone goes wild. You're like, all right, I get it. I like this point. I'm going to push into this. Yeah. You get that real-time feedback, which I think is amazing.
Absolutely.
And YouTube live stream just isn't as much fun.
I get 5 times the viewers on Rumble live stream than I ever got on YouTube.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. YouTube was suppressing me heavily. So that's another thing. If you have dissenting ideas, I'll say this to anyone at home. If you have any kind of opinion at all and you think that YouTube's better for discovery, perhaps it is. But if you get any kind of fan base, it's better to be on Rumble because YouTube will suppress you. They're what did we say earlier about algorithms and how they're trying to make you as profitable as possible by learning your behaviors and then trying to alter your behaviors so you spend money. They'll do the same thing to alter your behaviors so you're suppressed or so you don't speak as much. If you speak about a certain subject, you get less views, which will make you less inclined to speak about that subject because they want to control the populace. We're living in an information war. It's all an information war. And these huge platforms are the weapons of war they're using against us. I saw a really interesting video on Twitter the other day about Alicia Keys during the Super Bowl performance. And it was someone recording the TV screen with their phone. And the first note she hit, or one of the first notes, was a sour note. She messed up the note. And then when they watched the video back on YouTube, the note was perfect.
Really?
They altered history.
Wow.
And they're saying that that's how scary it is, that if I hadn't seen this in real time with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe she'd missed that note.
Yeah.
And if I look it up on the internet, she hasn't missed a note. So as far as history is concerned, after I'm dead and this video is gone and everyone forgets in a few weeks from now, as far as history is concerned, her note was perfect. They have altered history. They alter history by controlling the information. That's only a singing note. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But wait till that applies to everything else. And it already has. Every single war you look up, the good guys, the bad guys, who did what, why, who won what war, it's all a lie. Everything's a lie. If the news we get now is a lie, imagine how big of a lie history is. Bro, you want to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Every single thing you think you know about the good guys and the bad guys in history, and it's all a lie. So it's scary. So, yeah, I mean, how do we even find a solution to these things? It's extremely difficult. But that Alicia Keys video, for some reason, really concerned me. It made me think, if they can alter history over something as unimportant as a singing note.
Well, the crazy part is eventually someone's gonna be like, remember when Alicia Keys missed that note?
No, she didn't.
And they're gonna be like, yeah, no, she didn't. Oh, cancel this guy. This guy's spreading misinformation.
Why are you lying about Alicia Keys? Then he'll get a lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit, and he'll end up paying a bunch of money. And he'll say, but I know she sung it wrong. And they say, well, we've looked up the note. It's perfect.
Yeah, they will gaslight you.
I'll give you an example. I guarantee if you look up the COVID pandemic on Wikipedia, it sounds terrifying. This amount of people died. This many people locked in their house. You had to get the vaccine. You needed 8 of them, or you were susceptible to a winter of severe illness and death. This many people in this country died. You couldn't travel. You couldn't fly. Borders were locked. People couldn't go to funerals. You couldn't see your grandma. You were stuck in your house. We had to do, like, you'd look it up in 100 years from now and go, whoa, that was scary. And what was the reality? The reality was I was walking around with no mask on, telling everyone to get fucked, and it was fine. They've altered history. They've literally altered history. The version of history you're going to read, it was nothing like the actual event. So we live in a post-truth world.
Yeah.
Like, it's besides your own eyes, what can you trust? And that's what's even scary, because there's a huge contingent of the population who don't believe their own eyes.
Yeah.
They'll sit there and look at a man and go, that's a girl, because they're told to. So if you can't believe anything the Matrix tells you, you can't believe anything the history books tell you, you can't believe any study, because the study says the vaccine was effective. So you can't believe any study. All you can believe is your own eyes. And there's a huge bunch of the population who don't even believe their own eyes. This is why, going back to the very earlier point we said when I said I don't let women drive me, and someone comes, well, insurance statistics say, vaccine statistics said. So I don't give a fuck what insurance statistics say. Let me tell you what I've seen. Every single time I see a car hit a tree for basically no reason, it was a chick driving. So I don't get in a car with women. That's what I've seen with my eyes, and I'm stubborn and I believe them. But most people don't even believe their own eyes anymore. There are people who will be in a car crash with a woman 10 times and then read those insurance statistics and go, I must be wrong because the Matrix told me they drive better than me. And then go and get back in the car.
And that's concerning, because newspapers like the New York Times, they are the record keepers of history.
Yep.
And in 50 years or 100 years, or we look back 50 years, like what happened 50 years ago, you look at the New York Times and that's what happened.
Yep.
Regardless of what really happened,
Yep.
the New York Times decides what's truth.
Yep.
And they are so biased
Yep.
in their opinion and how they present facts now.
You're a misogynist.
I'm a misogynist, you're a misogynist. And even if all we did was support women, if it's in the New York Times,
right.
in 50 years, that's how history will remember us.
That's right.
And I think that's a scary thing. People don't realize how manipulated our realities are.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if what you believe now, because later they will convince you believed otherwise.
That's right. So if you look up the BBC archives, I'm the worst man in the world. I'm the most dangerous person on the planet. The fact that, I mean, the UK hates me the most, but the fact that UK has a stabbing epidemic, an acid attack epidemic, random people turning up on the borders without passports, homeless crisis, energy crisis, old people freeze to death because they can't afford their electricity bills, foods is crazy, inflation, it's just entered a recession. The entire country is failing in real time by every metric you can measure a society by. And what do the politicians talk about when they go to parliament? Andrew Tate said women can't drive. Andrew Tate said women can't drive. We need to stop this man. Insane. What they're actually doing, and I don't think many people realize, is what politicians and the elites have come up with this great idea is that they don't want to fix any of the problems of society. What they want to do is attack the people who highlight the problems of society. So we have all these problems and we don't want to fix them. So let's get anyone who tells people about the problems in trouble so that nobody talks about them so they can continue rampantly. So they don't want to fix the crime in the inner cities, but if you talk about it, you get in trouble. That's what they're doing now. They're shutting up the people who point out the obvious as opposed to fixing the things that need to be fixed.
Thinking about crime, as you, over the last 3 or 4 years, your growth has been from like known to like kind of known to like astronomically known. At what point during your rise did you realize I need security?
Yeah. So here in Romania, I'm actually very safe. And I'm on bail now, so I can't carry a weapon anymore. But I was, and there's no guns here. So it's very rare for someone to be able to carry a weapon here. So that put me in a unique position. The main reason I had security initially was so that I didn't have to reject people taking photos and stuff and trying to be polite. Because when someone goes, hey, can you take a photo? It looks bad when you say no, but they don't understand that it happens 300 times a day and you can't function. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You can't eat a meal. You can't do anything without photo. And it ruins your day. So that's kind of where it started. And then
deflect to them to have them say no, so you don't have to do it.
That's right. That's why it started domestically. Internationally, I've always known I need security. In London, I'm extremely security conscious. I think I have 6 guys in London for me. So it depends where I was, where I needed it. But we're getting to a point now. It depends on the place you go, right? In the Western world, it's kind of crazy that you need security so heavily. Here in Romania, I can not bring my guards and I can drive a $5 million Bugatti and wear a $500,000 watch and I have no problems. But I would never do that in Chicago or New York or Miami or London or Paris. It's kind of scary. The world's getting there. And as soon as you start getting well known, you're a target. As soon as people start recognizing you, you now become a target in the West. It's actually quite interesting in the division of mentalities, because I think the reason you're not a target here in Romania, although it's a poor country, is that wealth here is still respected and to a degree it's semi-feared. So if they see somebody with a lot of money, they're like, who does he know? How does he have all that money? I don't want to mess with him. They're like they're scared of money. Whereas in the West, if you have money, you're a target, you know?
But doesn't that make you the elite of Romania?
Well, yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Kind of like what we're fighting against in the West. You're like one of them here.
But it also goes
Do you feel that way at all?
But it also goes against you, right? Because I'm also going to be very understanding. Let's look at my situation, why I was in jail for 3 months on preventative detention before trial. I am very logical, like I said, about removing emotionality. If I was a Romanian judge, I'm 72 years old, I'm a woman, I'm from communism, whatever, and I get the paperwork, and there's papers like this, and I'm not reading them all because I'm busy, and I see me. I look at me, and I go, okay, Bugatti, Ferrari, private jet, girls, mansion, girls, human trafficking, money laundering, probably.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, how many cars? 62 supercars? Yeah, all right, jail, sir. Like, it makes sense. So there's pros and cons, right? Perception is reality to a degree. And I guess maybe not me, because I'm a very nice man. But many of the guys in Romania with a whole bunch of money, you wouldn't want to mess with.
Yeah.
So the criminal will look at a Lamborghini and go, I don't want to break into a Lambo. I want to break into a Honda.
Yeah.
Because the Lambo, if that guy finds out, I'm toast. Whereas in the West, it's not like that. In the West, they want the Lambo. So wealth makes you a target in the West, whereas it makes you the opposite here in the East. But I've known, I knew I needed security. In fact, I can tell you an exact story, actually. Let me tell you an exact story of when I knew. This is about 3 years ago when I first started really blowing up. And I started, the word brokies I made super popular.
Yeah.
And I was in London and I had a appointment. I can't remember why. I needed a blood test or something. I can't remember what it was. And I told the Uber to drop me at this doctor's, and it dropped me off, and I couldn't find the entrance to the doctor's place. And I'm walking up and down this street in London about 3.5 years ago. And like these 6 dudes across the street go, yo, that's the dude that called us broke. And I remember laughing, going, hi guys, like this.
Yeah.
And they kind of laughed. And then I thought, that might have gone wrong. That
could
have gone the other way. And from there, I decided to only have security. I said, okay, if I go to London, I need security. And from there, I expanded out and I got a domestic team and and we went.
You kind of get used to having them around too.
Well, bro, now I can't imagine living without it. Like right now, we have a guy outside the door and I have 3 guys downstairs and I've got a car and everyone's strapped and everyone has guns. And if they didn't, I'm nervous as it is. I couldn't imagine living without that now.
When you coin terms like brokey, which I think anyone who's watching, they know the term brokey because you coined it. Is that a conscious decision, do you think, for something like brokey, or did that just come out and then you're like, this hit hard because you get the reaction of the people?
Well, I think if you're going to try and teach complex ideas, the best thing you can do first is simplify them. So if you have a complex idea, not many people are interested in learning all the nuances and understanding all the details of a complex ideal off the bat. So you have to simplify it first. And then once they understand the simple version of it, if they're interested to learn the more difficult and the more advanced version. And I said brokey a lot in my life, so I thought it was funny, but it was a very simple way. Yeah. Now we talk about how you need money. Money is the vested time and interest of other people. Money is the source of all evil. It's the source of all good. You're going to need money if you want to protect yourself. You're going to need money inside of your fraternity. Complicated. Brokey. It starts with brokey. And then people go, I don't want to be a brokey. Then they want to make money. Why do they want to make money? How can they use their money to benefit themselves and the people around them? How does that resist the matrix if they can make money geographically free? Why do we need the people who believe in us to have money? Why don't we want broke people on our team? Because, etc. But it starts with simple ideas. And yeah, brokey. Brokey's a great way to start with a very simple idea. What color is your Bugatti?
Yeah.
What color is it?
Was that planned? Is that something that you preconceived? Like, I'm going to run this line. Like, you don't know if it's going to hit and it's going to go viral. Like, even if you think it will, like, it could hit, could not hit.
Yeah.
Was that planned, that line?
It wasn't planned. No, I'm just a quick thinker and you never know what's going to go viral. It just comes out. Yeah. And you never know what people are going to adopt and pick up. I mean, I gave myself a lot of nicknames. It was Top G that stuck.
Yeah.
You don't know. You just talk and have fun and people adapt to the ideas. How it goes.
What's one kind of phrase or kind of something that you thought would hit that just never picked up?
I thought my slogan would be more popular than it is. A lot of people know it. My unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in the realm of human endeavor, but it's too complicated.
It's too hard for people.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but that's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's what I would love everyone to repeat because it truly is all it takes to win in this world. Yeah. Unmatched perspicacity. Pay attention to everything. Perspicacity, the ability to be perceptive. Pay attention all of the time. Don't wear the headphones. Listen for the enemy coming. And sheer indefatigability. Never get tired. Never give up. Never give in. Never become lazy. If you pay a lot of attention and you work all of the time, you're going to make a bunch of money. You're going to be successful. You just told the story of your podcast. You paid attention and you didn't give up. You didn't even know what you were doing. You just tried it. Raw action solves everything. And I've been the same with all of my businesses. If I decide to launch a business, I'll just go and do it. I launched a school. I launched a university. I own university.com.
Crazy.
Yeah. The large educational platforms of Earth can't stand me. They're trying to convince people to spend 50 grand for a degree for a useless piece of paper. And for $50, I'll teach you AI and allow you to make money in the same day. You can sign up for $50 and start making thousands of dollars in the same day with artificial intelligence. I own university.com. I started a whole school and I now have the largest online educational platform on the planet. How did I do that? Well, I knew things. And I just started a school, just like you started a podcast. It's like, all right, we're launching a university. And the people on my team believed in me, and a lot of people around me call me crazy, and here we are. We're one of the largest. I would argue we're more profitable than Harvard or any of these other crazy ones. And they have to psyop you into getting a loan, which is a huge psyop, this whole student loan garbage.
Well, I think that's the business, to get you to loan.
Well, if their loan existed in a free and fair market, they wouldn't have a business anymore. If they said you can get a 50 grand loan and you can decide to start a business, buy a car, invest in crypto, or get a degree, who would choose a degree? Nobody. So they have to operate in a vacuum because only by operating in a vacuum can they attract any finance at all, which is why it's the biggest scam ever. My university doesn't operate in a vacuum. You can spend $49 on learning how to use artificial intelligence and becoming rich for the rest of your life, or 2 pizzas. It's up to you. But if you're a dumbass and you choose the pizza, then you deserve your forever slavery. It's your call. But we don't operate in a vacuum, which shows that it actually has value because we have students who are voluntarily students, whereas in the typical educational system, are they even voluntarily students? Not really. They just don't know what to do and they get this money and they can only spend it on one thing. It's forced. And they end up going there and getting their useless degree and then crying on TikTok they can't pay their bills. And that's what happens.
Well, I got 2 questions. One, how much did university.com cost? Can I ask? Can you answer that?
Guess. You get 2 guesses, and if you get it right, I'll tell you.
I'm going to say 12 million.
A little bit less.
Little bit less, give or take 8 to 10 million.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's made back its dividends on the name alone. That's a great name.
You know
I
what?
can't believe you had it.
Yeah, it's a good name. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't even yet really run the statistics on whether I got my money back on my investment. I just knew it would piss the educational system.
Yeah.
And that's also another reason. I'll be honest with you. When I was in jail, I was trying to analyze who my enemies were. And I understood my enemies were MSM. I understood I've pissed them off because I've countered their narratives. And I understand that the government are trying to psyop the young males of Earth to go and build the roads and pay 50% taxes and perhaps join the army and die in a ditch for no reason besides globalist profits. And I've upset them. And then I'm thinking of all the other power structures I've upset. Have I upset the medical establishment? Well, of course, because I was anti-vaccine and anti-COVID back during COVID before I was even big. People are finding all my old videos when I was one of the most vocal anti-COVID people at the very beginning of it when nobody else was.
Before it was popular.
Before it was popular, I was doing it. And then I thought, okay, so I've upset the medical system. I've upset the judicial system. I've upset MSM. I've upset the government. I've also pissed off the educational system. And they've got a lot of power and a lot of money and a lot of influence. I was like, is there any organizational structure on earth I haven't annoyed? But I bought university.com to annoy the universities. That's why I did it. I didn't even care about the investment, the return on investment. If I'm going to spend, I'll spend $10 million on a couple cars. I may as well spend it on being a thorn in the sides of authority. So that's why I did it.
Because I feel like that's one of the first Trump lawsuits that ever happened for having Trump University. And it was a 2-day course where you learn real estate concepts, and people sued him because they said, we paid for Trump University, which is a 2-day course, and I didn't get a university degree. And I think he got convicted for that.
Wow.
Or whatever it was. He got fined for it because he called it Trump University and people sued him for not it being a real actual university.
It's really interesting.
And they called it a scam and etc.
I didn't know that. And that's really interesting. So it's a good thing I don't own university.com. Some trust fund somewhere owns university.com. And it's a good thing I don't own the university that it leads to that's owned by God knows who. And I'm just some idiot and everything I say is a lie. And I'm just some guy on the internet who just talks stuff and I'm a comedian and I'm garbage. But if you want to learn how to use AI and become rich and stop being an idiot for $49, you can go to university.com and sign up.
Check out my friend's website.
This crazy guy, whoever it is from the Cook Islands who owns this trust fund, he knows what he's doing.
I want to ask you about a couple of the more popular trending creators of today now.
Sure.
We have guys like Joe Rogan.
Yep.
Who have just absolutely crushed the podcast game.
Yep.
And he used to be only on Spotify. Now they just gave him the biggest contract ever. He can go wherever he wants.
Wow.
I think he was only allowed on podcast, and now he's able to put his podcast on YouTube, Apple, whatever else. He got like free reign.
Nice.
You have guys like Tucker Carlson, who went off of Fox News and now bigger than ever before.
Yep.
There's this new acronym that I saw recently. They call it MAM. Have you heard that yet?
No.
MAM.
No.
Mainstream Alternative Media. It's a new term they're trying to coin.
Okay.
So instead of mainstream media, now it's mainstream alternative media.
Got it.
And these guys are creating this new narrative, right?
Okay.
So the Joe Rogans, the Tucker Carlsons, the Andrew Tates, I saw you on the list.
Oh, nice.
Of the MAMs.
Cool. I am transgender after all.
But there's a new movement, and this alternative media movement is growing bigger than ever.
Yeah.
And I love what Joe's doing. I love what Tucker's doing. I love what you're doing. And then there's people that are considered kind of conservative alternative media. I don't know how much I love what they're doing.
Yeah.
You have a Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire and Jordan Peterson, who you've somewhat been vocal about at times. But they seem to be, they almost want to sound like they're anti-establishment, anti-matrix, anti-this. And a part of me is like, but I feel like they're just playing the other side of the matrix.
Oh yeah, completely. I want to be careful which specific names I say, but let's put it this way. We talked earlier about what the popular thing to say is and how people do it purely for the views. I think that if you're truly anti-matrix, you're not calling for people to go die in wars all of the time. I actually think that's, and this is a bit of a segue from the question you asked, but it's true. I think one of the most heinous things people can do is to sit and wish for the deaths of other humans and wish for other people's sons to go die in a ditch while they don't send their own sons to do it. And a lot of these people who consider themselves conservative are just calling for forever war and these neocons. It's truly disgusting. And I agree with you. If you're truly alternative to the matrix, you also hold... if you have any, if your worldview is 100% aligned with any particular side, I would argue that you're disingenuous because I hold liberal opinions. It's very liberal to support Palestine. That's what the left does, not the right. I'm considered right wing and conservative. Why am I so adamant in my support for Palestine, which is a liberal ideal, right? So I hold different ideas on both sides of the fence because that's how I view the world. Some of these guys which instantly sign up with like the Daily Wire team. I love Candace. She's amazing and she's true. But some of these other people on the Daily Wire, every single thing is exactly what they were told to say and what they believe. Well, then you have to ask a question. Have they just sold their soul to the other side? Because they've got their sponsorship contract from the Daily Wire and they say what they're supposed to say and they repeat what they're supposed to repeat. Otherwise they lose their money. And then you start to say, well, who's behind them? And that's where controlled opposition comes from. Controlled opposition is just going to be, I mean, if I had a whole bunch of money and I was sponsoring liberal ideals, the people who were combating those liberal ideals, if I could pay them enough money to only semi-combat the non-important ones and allow me to get away with the really important stuff, all for a little bit of money, which I have plenty of and I don't value anyway, well, then I'd do that, wouldn't I? It'd be a fool to think there's not controlled opposition in the world.
I mean, when I think, they've offered me a little bit of money, they've offered you a lot of money, and then we see a lot of these quote unquote influencers that kind of all seem to be on the same page. And it makes you wonder, like, how many of these people actually take the money? And the reality is probably like most of them.
Of course. I mean, I don't want to say any particular names, but there's...
Yeah, it's not our business to call out other people.
But I don't want to say any names, but Ben Shapiro. Go to war, go to war, go to war. Get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. Go kill people for Israel, go to war. Yeah, we need to go to war all the time. Bro, you go to war. You go to fucking war. Why are you telling everyone else to go to war? You go fight. No, you don't want to fight. You want to sit in your little desk. Guy's full of shit. And he's being paid to say things, and he's full of shit. And then he had to release a rap song to try and distract everyone for the fact he was calling for the genocide of children. And he's like, oh, maybe if I make a fool of myself, people will forget. I don't forget. You're a dumbass. And one day I'll meet you probably because we're in the same-ish spheres. And I'll look down there and call you a little nerd because you are. So get fucked. None of these people are in... Bro, that's another thing that's about politics. You talk about fraternity and we talk about the Matrix and all these things. You need to be true to yourself. You have to believe your own eyes and you have to come to your own conclusions. But a lot of these people who are 100% ideologically aligned, they're just as sour as the people who are 100% ideologically aligned the other way.
I agree. I mean, most people are somewhere in the middle. You believe some of the things on the right. You believe some of the things on the left. And that's how normal people are. That's
100%,
fine.
100%.
We don't have to agree on everything.
It's kind of funny because the conservative movement, a lot of them kind of don't like me now. And that's because I've eclipsed their relevance massively. You could add them all together. Nobody cares. But a lot of the reason they attack me is they try and attack my morality, right? They say, oh, he had something to do with the webcam girls a long time ago. And he swears and he did this or whatever they're complaining about. And it's kind of interesting that they don't understand my affinity with people is the fact that I'm absolutely real and I'm coming from a bad area and I've had to do certain things to survive. And when people from a white picket fence household who grew up in a rich enough family home where everyone had food to eat and everything was perfect, they're going to sit there and try and preach morality. Nobody listens because you had an advantaged start in life. I come from a very disadvantaged point in my life and I did what I had to do to escape the poverty I was in. The people around me were killing each other. I grew up around stabbings and drug dealing and the old lady next to me got robbed and beaten to death and they're complaining about the things I did. It's like the real world's a harsh world and that's where you learn the real lessons of it. So some of the conservatives who have attacked me for my morality often don't understand how they ostracize themselves amongst the general populace because if you just sit there with a very Christian upbringing, white picket fence, rich household, mom and father together and love each other, happy families. Of course, you're going to sit there and preach morality. Well, you were born in the most advantaged scenario ever. I grew up in Gary, Indiana, then Luton, England in a single mother household. It's a completely different reality, but
virtue signaling on both sides.
Yeah, of course. There's virtue signaling on both sides completely. Yeah. And I often think as well, like a lot of the conservative movement, a lot of them don't realize why they lose the culture war because before certain people came along, and it's not only me, there's others as well, but I'm definitely going to take a degree of credit. Conservatives were so boring for so long. Like we've now made being conservative cool via strength, via money, via success. But before me, a lot of these conservatives were basically saying, don't have fun, don't do drugs, don't go to parties, don't dance, don't talk to girls, don't, like, it's boring.
Yeah.
Bro, what is it called? CPAC.
Yeah.
I went to CPAC maybe 5 years ago.
I think that's going on right now, this weekend, next weekend. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So I went to CPAC like 5 or 6 years ago. I can't remember when I went, but I was with Paul Joseph Watson. He said, let's go to CPAC. Anyway, I went to CPAC for the first time in forever. I was just getting big online and I stood around. I remember looking around going, well, this is why we lose.
Yeah.
This is fucking boring.
Yeah.
Everyone's a dork. Everyone's a nerd. The liberals are having fun. They're partying. They're having orgies. They're doing drugs. I don't even do those things, but I can see why they're attractive to people. What do we have here? Nerd convention, bro. And you look at these conservatives and they're sitting there going, don't do this, don't do this. You should live this way. It's boring. At least I've come along, and the reason I'm seen as a cultural phenomenon is I'm saying, yeah, you can be masculine and it's cool to protect what you care about, but get rich and live a good life and don't be apologetic and be a hero. They didn't preach any of that stuff. Most of the conservative movement are a bunch of boring dorks, nerds, and that's why they forever lose. And I remember sitting at CPAC. I looked at Tristan and said, never again, bro. Never again. It sucked.
And the conservatives have this bad habit of always celebrating too early.
Yeah.
They feel like there's a little bit of movement behind them, and I can feel it now. People are like, oh, Biden is so unpopular, Trump's gonna win for sure. I'm like, bro, there's no such thing as for sure. It's February. Yeah. We got a long way to go. Yeah. But you nerds are always celebrating too soon. Yeah. You got to live your life like it's your last day every single day.
100%. It ain't done till it's done. And like you said, we're February. A lot could happen between now and November, and they've already geared up the machine. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And then I think ultimately it comes down to culture anyway. I mean, it doesn't matter who the politicians are. It matters about the culture of the country. And you can argue that in a lot of different ways. Switzerland and Iceland have massive gun ownership without shootings. Why? And people will talk about the gun laws. It's not about the laws, it's about the culture. And the culture is broken. And if you want to win a cultural war as conservatives, then you have to have a cool and fun culture. Conservatives should be celebrating me. Andrew's come along and made our movement cool. But they're jealous and they're bitter and they're butthurt that I'm more relevant than them. So instead they cry their eyes out that I have a Bugatti and they said that I shouldn't brag. Don't brag, Andrew. Don't say you have money. Well, then how else are you going to get young teenagers interested? You dummy. I'm going to sit around saying just don't have any fun ever. Join the conservative movement. Fucking make your bed. 12 rules to life. It's boring. It's fucking boring. I'm cool and fun. Get over it. And that's good for us as a whole because it's a culture war. And men want to be men and we want to enjoy ourselves and we want to, but you can make masculinity cool without just completely cucking the idea of having any kind of originality or fun. That's why liberals have won for a very long time. They own culture because their culture is fun. You know, the Super Bowl's fun. And that's not a liberal thing. Let me take another example. Concerts. You know, I'm going to rant just for the sake of it. I've always found concerts amazing. When I look at them from the outside, even worse are festivals. When I observe a festival, when I am unlucky enough to have my eyes dirtied by the heinous, disgusting, the videos I see on Twitter of these humans on ketamine in the mud, jumping up and down to songs they've heard 3,000 times before, bumping into other sweaty bodies of the unknown peasants around them. It's just so, it's peasantry. I can't explain. I feel elitist quite rarely because I'm a man of the people. But when I see a festival, I just feel disgusted. People pay money to go there. And then they bro, just talk about slave mind. Talk about matrix-minded fools. And they're going to sit there screaming for somebody who doesn't even know they exist. You could get a cancer diagnosis and you could need $1 to pay the medical bill and live. And you could write to the person who you just worshipped and jumped up and down for hours and say, please give me $1. My life depends on it. And they wouldn't even reply. And you're going to go there and take drugs and jump up and down and listen to the song you can listen to on YouTube for free. And instead of sitting with your family at home and enjoying the song, because music's fine, I like the song, I'm with my people who I love, people I care about, I'm going to smoke my cigar and chill at home and I'm going to listen to the song. No, you're going to go to this garbage. I don't know. Something about festivals irk me. They really deeply upset me. And one of the great things about being rich is I don't have to talk to anyone unless I want to. So if I meet somebody who's like, oh, I was at a festival last week, I will instantly end the conversation. Instantly. I don't care if we're in the middle of a business meeting. I don't care if I'm on a date, whatever. As soon as they say festival, I will never speak to them again. Because to me, that's just the height of sheep matrix mind garbage. I hate that crap.
I feel like there is a same with like sporting events where everyone's rooting for a side, and sometimes when I see it, I'm like, it seems so sheepish. But every once in a while, when you gather a huge amount of people and they're all rooting for the same thing, regardless of what it is, this electric energy that's in the air, then I'm like, all right, I kind of get it. Completely. The energy, because people want to feel like they're a part of something bigger.
I get sports more than I get festivals because there's a competition element. The festival hasn't even got a competition element, so that's worse.
Well, it's who can, jump higher.
Oh, I guess. Sports I can kind of get. I mean, it's certainly not my cup of tea, but I can kind of get it. I think there's more important issues in the world that should be addressed and focused on, but I can kind of get it. But I mean, if you have that instinct to fight a war and feel like you're on a team, then why not fight the war for civilization like I am and like we are? Why join a sports team? Why not
that's
fight
actual risk.
Yeah, because they don't want the real risk, right? But if you really want to do it, then do something that matters. Why do something so unimportant? It's kind of like somebody said to me before, they lack energy and they lack motivation. And I said, nobody lacks energy and motivation. You just focus it in the wrong directions. I would guarantee if you find a person who lacks energy and motivation, he's trying to get girls all day. He's messaging girls on Instagram all day who ignore him. I guarantee he gets road rage when somebody cuts him up. No, you get angry and you have energy and you have motivation when somebody pulls in front of you in traffic or when you see some tits on Instagram, but you don't have motivation to do anything else. You don't lack energy and motivation. It's pointing in the wrong direction. And it's the same with these sports teams. If everybody cared about their country, like they care about these stupid fucking sports teams, or cared about their family, then the world would be fixed. But they're distracted. We all have an innate energy inside of us. We all have a life force, and most people are just directing it in the wrong direction completely. And that's why we're getting decimated in real time. The Matrix has come along and it's distracted us all with bread and circuses. And I refuse to do it. I refuse to sign up to things that don't directly benefit my life or benefit the future for my children. I don't think if a sports team wins, it's going to benefit the future for my children. And I don't think if I jump up and down like a fucking ketamine taking peasant in a concert, it's going to benefit my children. But I do think if I allow the world to see truth, if I try and speak up against the enslavement of humanity, that it's going to benefit my children in the future. So why would I waste my life force on anything else? I think people are just permanently distracted.
I mean, isn't it funny that if you are a fanatic of your sports team, then you are embracing the culture and it's fun and you're good. If you are a fanatic for your country, your race, or your people, or whatever it is, you're an ism.
Yeah, you're an ism and you're dangerous and you should go to jail.
Yeah, it's like you can comply and you can be as radical as you want. Paint your face, hate the other state, hate another country if you're doing world sports. You're allowed to hate then. But if it's for any other reason, you're an ism.
Interesting. Someone very smart said about 3.5 hours ago or 3 hours ago, you have the freedom to do stupid things, but you're not allowed to do anything important. Interesting, that is. Very interesting.
Let me see. Dude, how do you have so much energy? We've been going, I don't know, we may even have to cut this up into multiple parts. We've been going like 3.5 hours, and you are just as strong and as animated as you were in the beginning. I mean, as at the end, as you were in the beginning. How?
Because I don't waste my life force. I haven't been to any stupid concerts. I don't take any stupid drugs. I'm not smoking weed like an idiot. I'm not cheering for a sports team. All of my life force is inside of me so I can master the 7 styles of Aikido and tell the conservatives they're fucking dorks.
Nerds.
That's why. They're all nerds. They're nerds. I'm full of life force. I'm the man who will struggle to the end. I'm that guy. If an alligator were to get hold of me, not only would I snap its neck, but let's imagine 20 alligators got hold of me and they got lucky and somehow managed to decimate me until the last second where I lost consciousness. I would be snapping necks of alligators. To the last second, I refuse to die. I'm that guy. I don't waste an ounce of my life force on anything that's unimportant. Ever. So I refuse to be distracted. The Matrix wants to distract me. They've identified me. They're like, Andrew Tate is a threat. He's full of power and he believes in God and he's a slick talker and he motivates people and he has a bunch of money and he's big and strong and tall and handsome and charming and interesting. He's got a Long Johnson. We have to distract this man. We have to give him something he's interested in outside of fighting the Matrix. And they're trying to come at me with all these beauty queens and these sponsorship contracts, and I'm resisting it all. No, I have a mission and I'm on the mission. And we're talking to the people. We must be animated. We have a job to do. We must let the people at home know that enslavement's coming for their entire life and their bloodline unless they resist. Stop watching the fucking Super Bowl. Stop going to stupid concerts. And instead, be motivated about your family's future.
I don't know how you do it all the time. That's crazy.
Well,
Because like obviously you have the ability to just turn that on anytime you want, right? And that in itself is that a skill? Is that a learned skill?
I do have some chemical enhancements. So I will be honest and open about this. I do believe that caffeine and nicotine are super drugs.
Yes.
I truly believe that if you drink a bunch of coffee and smoke a bunch of cigars or cigarettes, that you're going to have fire blood. I've noticed that if I have a bunch of caffeine and a bunch of nicotine, I become very irritable. But I find being irritable is the perfect state of mind to get things done. Often people complain about being irritable or anxious or stressed, and they worry about those things, but I only feel comfortable in those scenarios. I would feel lazy if I didn't feel anxious, stressed, and irritable. I guess maybe it's different if you have a boss, because you have to make sure you don't snap at your boss, or if you have a wife, you have to be tiptoeing around or she'll leave you or something. But when you're the king of your world, like I am, and I don't have to be careful what I say to anybody, and I can shout anytime I want to be as irritable as possible because it gives me the energy and the fire I need to get things done. So I drink a lot of coffee. I smoke a lot of cigars. I only eat once a day. I like to be hungry all of the time because once again, that adds to my irritability. I think irritability is a superpower. Why not?
I feel like after all this is done, I'm going to like sit back, reflect, think, okay, what did I think Andrew Tate would be like? And what is he now after sitting here for 3 hours talking about you? And I feel like that reflection may be the most honest thing about everything.
Well, that'll be interesting. Make a video on it. I'll watch it.
I will.
I'll watch it.
Because I think it's fascinating because people think, is Andrew Tate real? People think that all the time, right? And sitting here for hours, I'm like, bro, he is so real, right? And it's a nuance and it's a combination of having original, well thought out ideas with a little bit of showmanship, with a little bit of, I really believe what it is. And I also understand how to use certain words to get my message across. It's this combination that if you don't really experience it and think about it, maybe you'll miss it.
Yeah, and I feel like, I'll be honest. I mean, I can say here, there are times where I'll be deliberately abrasive with some of my ideas. And there's ways to say things as well, which deliberately upset people.
And it has impact. It makes sense. I mean, I get it.
That's right. I can say men should protect women, or I can say females are weak. And one of them's going to ignite the feminists and one of them is not. So it depends what my end objective is and my goal is. I don't think a lot of people think about what their end objective and goal is. Sometimes it's good to get people upset. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I want people to agree with me via affinity. Sometimes I want them to argue a point. If I was to sit with a feminist, I would start by saying men should protect women and see what they say. And then at some point I would say females are weak to upset her, to make her deliberately start trying to use an exception to disprove the rule because I know she will lose that argument. So I'll put her in a losing fight. What does the art of war say? Enter a battle after you know you have won. So I put her in a losing fight because women are not as strong as men. So I'll say it in a way where she feels like she has to defend the idea, even though she knows and everyone knows innately that she is incorrect. So I'm quite particular with my language, depending what I'm trying to achieve. But that's the goal of it all, right? And I actually find it amazing that so many people go through the world without the ability to correctly translate their thoughts into speech. I think that's one of the greatest superpowers on earth.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think things and they can't explain it in a way that makes other people at least understand why they think the way they think. And I'm not going to lie, going back to a point we made earlier, one of my biggest worries about AI is that people will become as smart as me. That's going to piss me off. I don't want that to happen. I want to be the last slick talker on earth. I don't want them all to have these neuro chips and be as good as I am. But we'll see. Maybe that's going to change in the future also.
There was this one take that you had early on that I really loved, and it was depression isn't real.
Yeah.
You say that, and over time you've kind of stepped back on that a little bit because people have gotten so crazy, and you changed it to I don't think depression isn't real.
I'll double down.
Yeah.
Right now. I'll explain it again. I'm going to try and explain it to people at home so they can understand it. So I'm going to
talk. I liked it in the more abrasive fashion.
Yeah.
I thought it was more impactful.
No, depression isn't real. Depression isn't real. And I'm going to explain to you why I say that. And when I say that, people at home try and argue against it because they don't understand the premise behind the idea. If I don't believe in depression, I cannot become depressed. As I've said on many podcasts before, if you have two people inside of a haunted house and there's a noise in the night, the one who doesn't believe in ghosts will assume it is wind and go back to sleep. The one who believes in ghosts will assume it's a ghost. He will then wake up and panic and he will be afraid and he'll call an exorcist. It is the belief in the ghost that gives it power, not the noise itself. The reason I say depression isn't real is because now I can no longer become depressed because I don't believe it's real. So if I get sent to a Romanian jail cell and I have no idea how long I'm going to be in there for, and I'm suffering in there, I can't become a depressed person because I don't believe in the ideal or the mental model of depression. Believing in it gives it power. And I refuse to believe in things that take away power from me. And anybody who sits at home and argues with me that depression is real, why would I adopt your thinking if it makes me less powerful? Why would I adopt your thinking if it makes me less capable of dealing with difficult scenarios? This isn't even about being correct anymore. This is about adopting a mental model which makes me as competitive as possible. If me believing depression is real will put me in a position where I believe I'm a depressed person and I might want to kill myself, why would I believe in it? That sounds terrible. It sounds like setting myself on fire. I refuse. Depression is not real, so I cannot become depressed. That is what I believe, and you cannot change my mind because changing my mind will make me weaker. And why would I adopt the thinking or the mental model of somebody weaker than me? I don't believe in depression. That's the bottom line of it. So it's not real. People argue with me and they come at me with these matrix statistics. And
there's a study here in Oxford and this.
The study says, but I don't believe in studies. It's hard. I don't believe in studies. You can come at me with a million studies about depression. I don't believe that depression is an illness you catch from the sky and your brain is chemically imbalanced. Mental illness is real. PTSD is real, but that's based on an event. Something has happened. I believe in general, most of these depressed people is massively overdiagnosed. They need to take some agency and responsibility for their own lives. And I believe if they stop believing in this cure-all excuse of depression and instead start believing in working hard and becoming the kind of person they know they could be, they'll feel a lot better. The number of people who have said the gym has cured my depression, then how is it a mental illness? If the gym cured your depression, how is it an imbalance of chemicals in your brain if going to the gym and dedicating yourself and working hard cured it? Explain that to me. It doesn't even make sense. It's, you know what it is? What did we say earlier about the Matrix trying to push all ideas that promote selfishness? What is depression besides ultimate selfishness? Depression isn't real. And if you're depressed and you want to argue with me and prove to me that it is real, you're going to start sending me long emails about how sad you are. And I would never adopt the thinking of somebody who is sad. So all you're doing is convincing me even further to ignore every word you say. And you can sit in your room crying your eyes out like a depressed little girl. And I will continue to live a fantastic life. Because I'll tell you something. Most depressed people don't understand. Nobody gives a fuck. We all have our own problems. We all have our own issues. Nobody cares. You think being depressed and you can walk around and tell everyone, I'm depressed, I'm sad, and people are going to care. Nobody cares. They might pretend to care for a few seconds if they're a particularly nice person. But in general, nobody cares about you or your life besides you. And if you're not going to get up and work hard and go and try and get a Ferrari yourself, nobody's getting up every day and going to work every day to try and buy a Ferrari to give it to you. Nobody. So you either get up and do it, or you sit there and perpetually fail and stay a loser. And if you want to send me long emails convincing me why it's okay for you to be a loser because you have something called depression, I will ignore you and continue to be fantastic. So you can stay there and fail. I don't care. I don't care. The most you can hope for, sending me a long email trying to convince me depression is real, is that my brother and I laugh at you. That is the best that can happen. Look at this idiot. Look how hard they're trying to convince me that it's okay to be a sad failure. That's the best you can hope for. I'm going to stay fantastically happy and fantastically successful, irregardless. Depression isn't real. Take me to jail. I don't care. It's not real. I refuse to adopt it. Put me back in the dungeon. I will never be depressed. I will sit there happier than these people on the outside. I refuse absolutely.
Classic Andrew Tate rant.
Thank you.
Feel like this is what the world is missing. Feel like you're doing a little bit more now than you were when you first got out.
When I got out,
do you feel like there's a little shift there? Because I feel like you were a lot, like when you were with Tucker or Candace, you were a lot more reserved, statesman-like. But over the last maybe month, you've been kind of reverting back to your older self. Yeah. Do you feel like there's a shift? Is that intentional or?
I was told to shut up. And I said, I'll never shut up.
Yeah.
And they said, well, at least be careful. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to be that careful. And they said, but every word will be used against you in the court of law.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie to you. There was a little while where I kind of cared. And now I'm just like, take me to jail.
Yeah.
Just take me to jail, bro. If you really want to put me in jail, just do it. Like, what am I going to do? Live scared forever? If you really want to lock me up, then just lock me up. I know I've done nothing wrong. I'll be fine. I'll eat the rice. I'll do my push-ups. Just put me in jail. I tried my best, and I did Tucker, and I did a few interviews, and I can be statesman-like. I know there's a time and a place,
of course.
And I'm never gonna shut up. It's not who I am. But there's a time and a place to be more reserved. But I think now, as everyone realized that this is garbage and it's a matrix attack, and also as time's gone on, and I've realized that if every word, you get desensitized. Once you understand that everything you ever say will be used against you, you care for a while. And then one day you wake up and go, oh, whatever. Girls can't park, whatever. Take me to jail. Put me in jail then. Like, what can I do? I'm not going to sit here. I can't defeat the Matrix. What I can do is inspire people at home to wake up and resist for the benefit of themselves and their families. And perhaps we can damage the Matrix, but they're always going to chop off the head of the snake. Even if we win, I'm going to jail. I'm done. Because I was too big and too loud and I was too much at the forefront. They'll kill the general at the front, even if the army wins. That's how it is. My future's set. It is what it is. I believe in God. I refuse to shut up. I've made my decisions. I'm the man I am. I've made my bed and I'm going to lie in it. So it is what it is. Take me to fucking jail. Put me in the jail cell then. I'm not scared.
Or don't.
Yeah, but I'm not going to live in fear.
Yeah.
I know I've done nothing wrong. I'm not going to sit here and be afraid of any of this because fear feeds it. Fear is what they want. They're objective. They don't want me in jail. Matt, they don't want me in jail. What they want me to do is come out, shut up, not talk, or talk and cry my eyes out like Jordan did, crying my eyes out on antidepressants because I can't take the stress and the pressure while also writing books about mental rigidity and then sitting there crying, oh, I'm on antidepressants. That's what they wanted me to do. They wanted all the people to believe in me to realize that I was a false prophet. That's what they wanted. And I refuse. So you can martyr me and put me in jail and make me more influential than ever before, and I'll do my push-ups, or you can let me go because I'm innocent. I'm ready for either one. Or put a bullet in my head.
I mean, it's one of those things where even if you're thinking it, like, don't say it out loud. Words matter.
It is what it is at this point. I know I'm innocent. Everyone at home knows I'm innocent. So what can I do anymore?
I just don't
Depression isn't real. Kill me.
Don't say that.
Kill me. Depression isn't real. What more can I do?
You know, it's one of those things where even if you want to say it, I don't know. I feel like words matter in life. And even if it's a thought that you're putting out there to prove a point, certain words, if you say it, you're almost like asking for it, or you're
right. And
you're manifesting it.
I agree.
That the manifestation of words always concern me.
You're actually right. And I agree. And here's the scary thing. What if part of me wants to go?
Oh, bro.
What if I'm so crazy and I've been so desperate for an exceptional life my entire existence? And I understand that I would make a bigger dent in the Matrix if I go than if I don't go. And if I understand that if I'm going to fly on private jets and drive around in Bugattis and be the most famous man on the planet, there's no light without dark, and the dark is a Romanian dungeon filled with cockroaches. And maybe I understand that when I'm 72, if I manage to live that long, I'll look back on those 10 years I spent in that dungeon and be happy they happened because of the lessons I learned. Maybe part of me wants to go. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not afraid at the point where I actually completely am ready for it at a level where I'll be excited by the opportunity. Maybe when you want to explore all the levels on the map of life, you don't just want all the levels at the top. See, this is the mistake most people make. They sit there in a normal life and they dream of being rich and going on nice vacations and dreaming of all the nice things. They don't dream of all the bad things. They think they can have all the light with none of the dark. That's not how it works. The only reason you appreciate being rich is because you were poor. If you were born rich, you don't appreciate it. The only reason you appreciate being in good health is because you were once sick. When you're sick, you'll do anything to be healthy. If you've never experienced sickness, you don't know what health is. There is no light without dark. Perhaps I'll be a happier person and live a more fulfilled life and enjoy my fantastic benefits that come with wealth if I do go. Perhaps I can have a more positive message and more people will know my name if I do go, Matt. Perhaps I'm ready to martyr myself. Perhaps I am ready to charge at the gunfire. Perhaps I don't care.
You are a bad man. You know what I mean? Like, just the idea of that. And I kind of believe you.
Do it. I'm at the point now where my enemies can do nothing but immortalize me. Win or lose.
Anything they do at this point will just prove your case more.
They can immortalize me. Now, I can suffer in one way I'm immortalized, and there's another way I can not suffer in the way I'm immortalized. Because if I walk, I'm immortalized. And if I go to jail, I'm immortalized.
There's no way they can win this.
I'm not scared of suffering. So that even if they choose the suffering path, depression isn't real. It's fine.
On that note, I think that's it.
Thank you,
dude. This is amazing. Top G is, I believe you.
And
that's really what I think my conclusion is that I think you're genuine. I think you're honest. Although some people may not agree with everything. Again, we don't think anyone should agree with everything anyone says anyway. But I believe that you believe what you're saying and that some of it is just nuance.
And I respect that. That means a lot to me.
But dude, like, the intensity and the where it comes from, it's like undeniable and it's so impressive. And I get why you're so famous. I get why you're so viral. It's the energy that you bring to a conversation that unless you're here, you don't feel it. You know, it's hard to relay. And you have this ability to relay this personal energy from a room in the corner of Romania to like the world and the masses via screen, which it's really hard to do these days.
It is. And I hope at least some of it translates. And I guess the final point I want to make about what we just said, I guess, if you lead by example, it's the best way to lead, right? That's what we're lacking in the world today. If our leaders had to lead by example, a lot of the problems would be fixed. If they had to go to war themselves, we wouldn't be at war. If they had to pay for their own groceries and they weren't scamming the government and creating endless money with this inflation, stock market, garbage cycle money laundering scheme, things would change. And I feel like if I can suffer the way I'm suffering, all I have to do is inspire people at home to suffer 5% of what I go through, and then a lot of problems will be fixed.
We didn't even talk about war. I feel like how long have we been going?
There's always part 2, friend.
I think we got to need a part 2. Thank you, everybody. Andrew Tate, Cobra Tate. What do you like the best? Can I ask you that last?
Sure.
What's your favorite thing to be called of everything? Because you've had a evolution of kind of nicknames, catchphrases, etc. What's your favorite one?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I've never thought about that. I'm going to have to think about it. I guess it depends who's calling me what at what time. There's times I like to be called, bad names. It's funny.
Yeah.
When the feminist gets angry and starts screaming misogynist, I'm not going to lie. I feel pretty happy.
It's empowering.
Of course.
Andrew Tate, thank you. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, everybody.